Welcome back to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at Market Site in Times Square, we have Donato Tramuto, who's the CEO of Tivity Health. We're going to take a look at capitalizing on longer-term healthcare trends. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us at Market Site. And it's interesting, you meet consumers where they are and actually what they should be doing. Tell us more about Tivity.
Yeah, Tivity Health is one of the largest now companies that are addressing social determinants of health. Our legacy flagship product is Silver Sneakers, which is focused on the 65 and older population. Basically what it is that we bring those individuals into a fitness program. And what I've learned as CEO, it's more than just fitness. It's also about social connections. The new chronic condition of the 21st century is loneliness, and the ability to bring these seniors out of their homes into communities is what Silver Sneakers does. And then now with our acquisition of Nutrisystem, we're really able to address three social determinants of health: food insecurity, inactivity, and social isolation and loneliness.
All right, now there's also three other groups that you talk about: the healthy, stable chronic, and severe chronic. What are those three and how do they fit into this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so when I look at the opportunity that's out there today, in any population, whether it be the senior population or the general population as a whole, you're going to have 50% of that population in the healthy bucket, which is more lifestyle, and then you're going to have about 35% in what I call the stable chronic. They may have one, two chronic conditions. They haven't moved over to the more complex, and that's where 15% of the population reside right now, the polychronic, where they have 4 or 5 chronic conditions. The good news is we finally have recognized. Years ago, I think we felt we were really stuck with that 15%, and you just let them age and let them, manage their conditions. But now we're recognizing that there is a quintessential opportunity to manage both the stable and the complex chronic. And that's where I think you can have an enormous ability to reduce costs. However, we can't forget about the healthy.
And that's where the opportunity lies, though. If you get to the healthy first, you don't have to worry about the expenses, as well, in theory, of stable chronic and severe chronic.
That is nobody will ever argue that if you're managing the stable and the complex, and you prevent ER visits from happening, or you prevent readmission, you're going to see some dollars saved in the claims data. But what you just said is absolutely correct. How do you keep the healthy so that they're not moving into the stable chronic? Somebody who's smoking or somebody who may not be managing their weight correctly. By addressing that early on, you really do slow down or stop. They're moving into these other categories.
All right, now this is interesting. You recently acquired Nutrisystem, as you said before. It's your 48th acquisition.
Actually, it's 49. I thought it was 48th until they forced me to go back and to really identify. It's my 49th acquisition, over 40 years.
Is
it tells you how old I am.
acquisition different? I mean, you'd think at this, you'd be an old pro at this.
Well, there are some commonalities, and I think what I've learned about acquisitions, if you get the culture right, then everything else will follow. And I think that I erred in my first 4 or 5, where I missed that variable. And the time to really assess the culture is not after you close the deal. It's really during those months of due diligence. And I think the Nutrisystem was a clear grand slam for us. The values, the mission-driven approach, the fierce execution, the culture of empowerment resides in both of the companies. And so if you get the culture right, everything else will follow.
And does Nutrisystem fit into what you're doing with Silver Sneakers?
I'm sorry?
Nutrisystem fits into what you're doing with Silver Sneakers?
Absolutely, because what we're learning is that even in the senior population, there's going to be a segment of seniors who, and I give this story, both my parents died 6 months apart in 1992. My mother lost 40 pounds in that 6-month time period. I missed all the warning signs of her loneliness and her food insecurity. And I have now met about 10,000 of our members in Silver Sneakers, and what I heard, what I learned, I went into their homes, that the issue of inactivity is only one issue that they're facing. They're facing loneliness, they're facing food insecurity, and so we are working, and this is the part of the cultural integration, we're working very fast to offer a variety of offerings from Nutrisystem to the senior membership. They're getting into our database now and offering the program, and we've been very pleased with how many have signed up for it. We're now working with the health plans on the post-discharge programs. CMS has approved a 4-week food delivery program. If a senior has been categorized as being food insecure for the next 4 weeks after they get out of the hospital, what a great opportunity to bring Nutrisystem into it. And then quite honestly, if somebody's living with multiple chronic conditions and they're in rural America, there's a great opportunity to work with our health plans to offer I'm going to call it a silver spoon program.
Yeah.
Silver sneakers, silver spoon.
All right, Donato, thank you so much for joining us at MarketSite. And thank you for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.